Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D's, all one word, CONVODD. That will get you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with the DoorDash app. Does not get much better than that, folks. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I'm joined, as always, by the man who built the place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer is Alex Allard. This is the Canucks Conversation. And I don't know if you got an energy drink you want to show us. I see the can's green.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm hoping that you do want to show it, because I think that's always funny.
What do you guys think of this on YouTube, eh?
Yeah, no one can tell what that is.
I knew Alex is on one today, and now he's really up to it again. I got the green can, so it's not going to help.
Yeah, I kind of set you up for that one. My mistake. But this is the Canucks Conversation. We're going to talk Vancouver Canucks. Is there anything you want to get to first? Because I always feel like I start, and then you come in and you start talking about energy drinks and whatnot. But I tried to get the energy drinks off the table early. Back to
the cam, please, Alex. The view of outside, please. When I noticed it coming into this one, it's always a good show when the SkyTrain goes by at the opening scene, and we had one there at the start. So we're going to have a good show today, no matter how much you try and bring us down here, Quads. This show is going to be good because the SkyTrain went by at the start in the intro. So good stuff.
Fair enough. Okay.
And let's get started.
Shouldn't that happen every time? If that thing's on schedule and on time, and we are, that should happen.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
You know who's not on time, though, is us sometimes. So I feel like we would be the problem a lot of that. But
I appreciate you for saying we and us there.
Yep.
Because it's not my fault every time I'm late.
No.
It happens sometimes.
I'm always on time.
No food today. I'm not eating today. Someone messaged me and was like, "Were you eating during that show?"
For people on YouTube, this is hilarious. This is the greenest can. It's a sugar-free Monster. And by the way, I used to always drink just like straight up Monsters, the energy drinks. I have had no problem making a switch to sugar-free energy drinks, because I don't know what I say this all the time. I don't know what they're putting in these things.
Why did you figure it out?
There's fake sugar and stuff. Yeah. I tell you, it's good for you. The zero sugar. This one's called Ultra Paradise.
You're still going to the gym, so I'm very proud of you. Mm-hmm. But you gotta stop drinking that stuff. It's not good for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The start here. I want to say this. I got to get this in before we get going. So our first little segment down there on the ticker. Alex's favorite thing of this whole show. He doesn't like us. He loves that ticker down there, though. What in the hell? I got to give a shout out. One of my best friend's dad, Sean McCarthy. He used to, when I played baseball, he would sit in center field. Not even sit. He'd stand on the fence in center field. And whenever there was a bad play or something weird happened, he would be the only guy out there. Like, he would be one, like, like in, not like we're not playing professional baseball, but growing up, it was like the little fence that you could see through or whatever, chain link fence. He'd be out there, and if it was a really bad play, you'd hear Sean McCarthy out there saying, "What in the hell?" Like, you'd hear it from the outfield, just this one voice. And that's what I thought of last night watching this Canucks game. What in the hell?
L. Jim jumped in the chat and said, "What in the hell should be the team slogan?" And Yako Rakola jumped in and said, "Unfinished dishes."
A lot of people got to those unfinished dishes last night because they kind of tuned out the game after 4-0, which I don't blame you. The dog rating got shut down after 20 minutes. That's Wyatt's fault on that. I was ready to rock with the dog. I took my dog book and I put it away. I put it away for the game and just watched the hockey for the second and third periods. But what a wild game. Obviously, if you're here for the news, it was a 7-6 overtime win for the Vancouver Canucks, coming back from a 4-0 deficit after 20 minutes. Yeah, just a wild game. I think fun. If you're in the arena, I got this from a couple people that are just friends of mine who like to just go to hockey games and enjoy this, and they had a blast last night. And you should have. If you're just a fan going to the arena and having a good time and hoping for a lot of goals, whether you're a Montreal fan or a Canucks fan, I think everyone had a good time last night, because it's not like Montreal fans are grasping on to needing wins and needing points. Their understanding of where their team's at.
They have a fun rebuilding team to watch.
And if you're a fun rebuilding team, give me a 7-6 loss every day of the week, right?
Yep.
Like the only thing that wasn't great for the Montreal Canadiens was they got a loser point. So if they're a team that wants to get a high draft pick, loser point. But I mean, everybody that was in the arena last night at least had some fun.
I wonder if there's anybody that left after the first period. Because hang on, I know
saw it on Twitter.
There was a lot of people that stopped watching after the first period or took a break, and then they noticed later in Twitter Twitterverse that it was time to. Also, people are ripping you for the fake sugar in the chat. I'm not sure if you can see that.
What? So I should go back to regular sugar?
Probably, but you should not be drinking any of those. Like,
all right, well,
you can have them once in a while.
Here's the thing.
We're not gonna start
my
this.
face is
Let's
out
not
here.
start
My
this.
face is out here on YouTube. So I get all these people throwing advice. I don't throw any advice to all y'all. I let y'all live y'all's life.
It's because I care about you.
Yeah, but what? Sorry, are the 10 calories going to kill me, Quads? Are the 10 calories going to kill me?
It's not calories. Okay, we're not talking about this. Have you seen this thing? It's like a trend on the TikTok machine, which I love, TikTok.
Yeah.
It's this thing where podcast hosts and just friends, whatever, they'll do like a draft of things.
I told you I wanted to do this.
Did you?
Yeah, I sent you this.
Well, anyway, I want to do it right now. We're gonna do a draft of just weird things that happened last night, because last night was a weird game. I'll go first. I'll start.
You didn't look at any of the prep for the show.
No, I didn't.
I got all.
But you know where I'm
jam-packed
starting?
Show here.
You know where I'm starting is in the crease, Chris. With my number one pick, I'm going with Spencer Martin letting in 4 goals and what was it, like 8 shots in the first period?
Yeah, something like that.
And those weren't, like a lot of the goals that Thatcher Demko was letting in the season. Hell, even Spencer Martin, you were kind of like, okay, well, that's not really on him. That was a defensive structure in front of him. But one of those was low danger. One of them was medium danger. The 2 high danger ones, like, again, hard to stop, but Spencer Martin stops a lot of those. And hey, look at the other end of the ice. Sam Montembeault. Remember that name? I think he had a really good performance against the Canucks in the past as well. Might have been with Florida when he did that. But anyway, Sam Montembeault also turning in a spectacular performance in the first 5 minutes, shutting down the Canucks. That was a weird thing that happened. I started in the crease. I gave you 2.
Yeah, I think, what's another thing? So I'll do this pick. My pick would be the Luke Schenn, probably the loudest hit I've ever heard in arena. Like, not even the sound of the boards, because it didn't look like he even used that much of the boards. The body-to-body contact that he had on Slavkovsky was ridiculous. That was like the loudest thud that I've heard from like 2 bodies hitting each other in a hockey game. And that happened so early that it was kind of almost forgotten about. And also wasn't even registered as a hit, because
it was an interference penalty.
It was an interference penalty, so it wasn't registered for a hit. Luke Schenn, who felt like he was throwing the body around with a couple of massive hits, finished the night with just 1 hit on the night, according to the stats. So not good for Mr. 3000.
He'll get 11 tomorrow.
Forward. Yeah, that's the thing. I found it funny the other day when we were asking all the players about Luke Schenn becoming the all-time leader, and they're like, yeah, we've been bugging him to try and get 12 hits or 18 hits in a game to like just get it out of the way. So
yeah, I think it was Miller that was like, if he gets under 10, we all tell him he's gone soft or something.
Yeah, and I see it in the chat there from Liam. Now that I've jumped into the chat, everyone is mad about the aspartame. What if it's not aspartame? Could be something else. Yeah, I mean, that was I don't know if that was an interference call.
No.
And then what's this Wi-Fi guy? I can't pronounce his name, but he came off the bench to fight Luke Schenn. I feel like that's an automatic 10-game suspension, but it didn't happen last night. Like he did technically like have a change. Like I think the play might have still haven't been whistled down yet, but he came off the bench to fight Luke Schenn, which is a 10-game suspension.
No, I think it's a 10-game if you come off. I also don't know the rule that well. Okay. I think it's a 10-game if you come off and you're like the 6th man on the ice.
Okay.
Right?
Something like that. Can I one thing from the game, we get this up, Alex, the heat map. The Canucks did a good job of getting to the net. We talked about it yesterday on the show, how much I think they've struggled at just getting towards the net. The Canucks did a good job of that last night. They got a lot of their shot opportunities from in close, real close to the crease. They obviously had that big hot spot there on the left point, kind of where like the Quinn Hughes area. Riley Stillman was getting some shots towards the net as well. We saw quite a bit of that throughout the game, but it felt like the Canucks were actually getting in tight, getting into the net. So that was a good little performance from the Canucks when it came to that. Show to a natural stat trick for this one. But all 5 of those Canucks goals at 5-on-5, they all came from in real tight, real close to the crease. And this is the most impressive heat map that I think the Canucks have had all season long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not at defending, because the Canadiens were all over their net as well. But for the Canucks, they're a team that normally, shoots from distance quite often. And last night they didn't end up doing that. They were going to the net. Give them credit for that.
A lot of fun in the chat right now.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, right now there's a lot of fun going on in the chat. When you're big enough to start getting the bots in the account, that's a good sign, right? It's got to be good.
Yeah, I know you like those bots in there. I know that's one you recognize. Actually, probably.
Subscribe to the Canucks Army YouTube channel, by the way. We've got over 160 subscribers now, which is fantastic. We're really excited about that.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, Alex, our producer, he doesn't do the clips for the show, but locked in his basement right now is the guy who does do our clips for the show. We heard him
Aaron.
yelling. Yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah, he's got him locked down there. So
yeah, and we'd like Aaron's
going to be getting the clips up over on Canucks Army. So yeah, subscribe. I looked the other day, 156 subscribers.
Yep.
That's pretty good, right? I don't understand the subscriber numbers. I hit 15,000 followers on Twitter the other day.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was cool.
That's awesome.
I want to get back to that point where I was double your followers. So I'm working on that again. It's been a while.
I only have 7,000 something.
I'm working. No, I looked the other day. Oh, I checked. I want to get back to being the double the amount for you.
It shows you how much I use Twitter. How many followers do I have?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
This is great radio, great podcast.
Let's get into
I'm at 8,823.
It's all those Seelov's takes here. Yeah. Let's get to the other one I wanted to bring up. Let's just have a look at the lines last night. We'll chat a little bit about it. I wanted to bring up the Kuzmenko, Dries, and Garland line because
just like we drew it up. Just like we drew it up.
Yeah, a very offensive-minded line, and they worked together in a bottom six matchup last night. I mean, they controlled a lot of the shot share in this one. Ended up potting a goal as well. And I talked to Dries a little bit about it today. Listen, we're 26 games into the season at this point. Dries has kind of established himself as that 3C for this Vancouver Canucks team, which he hasn't been a guy who's always kind of stuck with an NHL team, but the way that this team is kind of putting out their top nine, Dries is the best option right now at center. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when Pearson comes back from injury. Does that change anything, or what happens to the forward group at that point? But it feels like to me, they could be riding with Dries for the remainder of this season at 3C. I don't think there's another option that kind of sticks out right now for the Vancouver Canucks to go with.
I mean, yeah. Is it kind of surprising that we're here? Yes, it is. Because again, it was a great night for them last night. And it was great that Kuzmenko was able to perform with Sheldon Dries as a center, because you look at the numbers with Andrei Kuzmenko with Elias Pettersson and away from Elias Pettersson, it's not pretty for Kuzmenko. No. It's very similar to what Besser was doing away from Pettersson. So again, obviously you're going to have better numbers if you play with the best center on the team, and that's what Elias Pettersson is. Make no mistake about it. So for Brock Besser, again, small sample size. I want to make that clear, but Brock Besser performs well. The fact that Kuzmenko performed well with Sheldon Dries and Connor Garland, and hey, not taking anything away from Connor Garland or Sheldon Dries for that matter, but Connor Garland, as people read in the statsies this morning over at Canucks Army, actually was just posted, but Connor Garland had the best Corsi on the team last night. And I know it's a bottom six matchup, so he should be feasting on those for a guy that was the Canucks' best 5-on-5 producer last year, or one of their best, excuse me. You want to see that. And I think the biggest takeaway last night, and again, you're going to talk about, I'm sure, in the Don't Be Blinded section of this podcast, as you've put on the ticker here.
You don't want to. Alex likes that ticker down there.
You don't want to read too much into the fact that, Kuzmenko had a great game. Let's see if he can sustain it, right? Let's see if he can have Sheldon Dries as a center, because you just made a good point. Sheldon Dries is probably this team's third line center for a while. And again, for a team that came into the season looking at, we've got three great centers. We've got Bo Horvat, we've got Elias Pettersson, and we've got JT Miller. JT Miller was a disaster at center this year. Mm-hmm. And they move him to the wing, and there's this talk of, once he gets going at the wing, his confidence will grow and we'll put him back at center. He went back to center and he wasn't much better.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going back anytime soon.
So my point, Chris, is when this team trades Bo Horvat, right, at the deadline, or sooner, whenever they trade him, you're looking at Sheldon Dries as your second line center.
Oh, wow.
And who's coming up afterwards? And again, the Canucks could trade. I just saw people are looking at Colorado because Nathan McKinnon's going to be out for a bit, it looks like. New hook in a first or new hook in a second, whatever it is. You go out and pick up some sort of young center and you put him there. And it's probably better than Sheldon Dries. And again, when we talk about this, I almost want to call it a rebuild on the fly, because when you have Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, you're not doing an actual rebuild. You're doing kind of what the Habs are doing, I think. I know everybody says the Habs are rebuilding. They're building around two pretty solid pieces, and they just added Kirby Dach, obviously, as well, right? But I'm talking about Nick Suzuki. I'm talking about Cole Caulfield, right? They're building around those two pieces. Let's be honest here, right? And you're seeing what the Habs are capable of right now. And also, I'm sure we'll talk about this in the Don't Be Blinded section, but that was a rebuilding team that everybody's taking victory laps around.
Yeah. I mean, the Canucks, 3 of their wins over the last, 5
games?
Yeah,
they scraped to a victory against Arizona. They look awful against the Montreal Canadiens in the first period, and then they've managed to come back. But again, that's why I say, this idea that, You have to do a full rebuild or you're not going to get a high enough draft pick. How many games does this team really win without Bo Horvat?
Can we quickly, do you have the line stats there, Alex? I put that one up because I wanted to get to the audio that we have as well. But the quick line stats from last night, shout out Natural Stat Trick again. Yeah, very impressive numbers like you brought up. We were a little bit cautious going into this game about what Kuzmenko looks like, because you mentioned it, when he's not with Pettersson, he doesn't look very good at 5-on-5 anyways. Still got opportunities on the first power play unit, scored the goal as well, so good for Kuzmenko. But a lot of what I asked Sheldon Dries was like, just how important is possession time for him and the role that he's in. And listen, they're going up against bottom six matchups, right? It's not like Sheldon Dries, Connor Garland, and Kuzmenko are going to be matching up against the top players of other teams. And when you're up against a team like the Canadiens, you need to take advantage of a weak bottom six. And that's what that line kind of did last night, where if they're clicking and they're getting a little bit of chances to kind of spend more minutes in the offensive zone, you're going to see numbers like this pretty often. And last night we even saw a goal. So, I mean, like to see them come together, that was good. And great for Connor Garland to finally score a goal. I mean, this guy I thought was a very effective player at 5-on-5 last night, and that's what he did all last season. So it's for him to get a little bit of a bounce back. Hopefully that's something that for him is just getting the monkey off the back and go from here, because yeah, he's been, not a lot of good luck going his way up to this point in the season. Another guy that doesn't have a lot of good luck is Niels Höglander. I asked Horvat about this yesterday, and I want to run this audio. So we'll run this in a second here, but just, I tell you, like that one that he rang off the bar on the backhand is just like how it feels like it's gone for Niels Höglander so far this season. I asked Bruce Boudreau about it today, and kind of all the players are on the same page about this. Like, they would be worried if they're not getting scoring chances. Höglander's getting scoring chances, right? And the same thing with Sheldon Dries. Like, these two players are getting scoring chances. It's just about being able to finish at the NHL level, which is so different. And I think of it in a Ilya Mikheyev, right? Like, think about how many situations he gets into. We'll get to more of that actually in the Pettersson part of this, because that line I want to spend a little bit of time on. But Höglander is just like something. He's snake bitten at this point, man. Like, he can't so much of the wide open net last night, and then you roof it right into the crossbar. We have the audio here of Horvat talking about it. I asked Horvat about Niels Höglander getting the scoring chances. Here's the audio from post-game last night from Horvat.
How are you feeling about the 5-on-5 scoring chance creation that you guys are having? It feels like Niels is just like what is it that's keeping the puck out?
Oh man, I know. I feel bad for him. I mean, he's doing a lot of great things, and he's doing so many great things to get himself open and get his chances. I think I'd be a lot more worried if he wasn't getting his chances. I think it's just a matter of time before he's going to pot one again.
And that's the thing, is like, that line works well together. They look really good. Niels Höglander looks good on that line.
I think it's strange because I think that there's a lot of questionable decisions from the wingers when they're exiting the zone. Like, Höglander and Miller both really love to cross the ice with a pass as they're, like, I feel like even sometimes before they exit their own blue line, which really puts you in a bad position. If you turn the puck over there, the other team's still in your zone with some bodies there. It makes it a little bit difficult, but I think they've been doing a better job of, I don't think that cross ice pass is a great thing for when you're like starting your breakout, but they've been doing a better job of at least crossing their own blue line. I feel like that's something that Höglander probably has to learn still at the NHL level, of like just decision making with, I think, certain passes in certain areas of the ice. Like Miller, I don't think there's a lot of excuse for some of the passes he makes, obviously. Some of those blind spinning back passes to absolutely nobody aside from other players on the opposite team, like those are inexcusable, but I'm like, we kind of just accept like that. Miller's going to do that. But like Höglander, you hope that he can continue to learn a little bit about when to, because I don't know, because the SHL is like, that's a pass you see all the time. That's a pass that I see all the time in Swedish hockey, even Finnish hockey, just European hockey that I watch in general. Like, there's a lot of just end to end, because you have this little bit of extra space in the Liga specifically, and then some of the SHL leagues as well, some of those rinks. That extra space that you have, like, gives you a chance to just like absolutely whip that pass across. And it gives you space to like, have the player take it off the boards. It just, that extra space is something that is taken away from the NHL size rink. And I think Höglander, that part needs to evolve in his game a little bit to just get that thought process out of there and be a little bit more committed to maybe a dump and chase situation. When you have, a body like Horvat, who, yes, he's a center, but he's a player who can get in on the forecheck. A lot of the time you see Horvat be the first guy in on a forecheck. That's not something you often see from a center. That's just kind of his game. And I think Höglander, once he adjusts a little bit to kind of fit better, I think you're going to really start to see some production. But he's also doing a good job of skating in the offensive zone and not just like, move, like not only just like, full speed from end to end, but like the movement that I'm seeing from Höglander at 5-on-5 is he's finding those open areas. And though Horvat may not be the best passer, I do think that JT Miller at times has really good vision. And I think he's finding Höglander right now. But yeah, I just can't seem to find the back of the net. But Bo Horvat up to 20 goals now. 26 games into the season. Horvat's at 20 goals. The dude cannot stop scoring. I tweeted out last night that, Canucks are getting, I think it was the 4-2 goal with Horvat with his 300th of the season. And people are like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I clearly know that he doesn't have 300 goals, or like it's just a joke, but nobody on Twitter seemed to understand that I was trying to make a joke.
Bo Horvat, it's quarter season's over.
Sorry, I got to get to L. Jim's comment here. Höglander is so snake bitten, his snake bite has a snake bite. That's a great comment on the YouTube there.
And 25 games through the season, Horvat's still on pace for 63 goals. What Jason Robertson is doing in Dallas right now is absurd. Like, the Rocket Richard could very well be Horvat's, if not for Jason Robertson, who is scoring at an even better pace in Dallas. And again, doesn't look like he's going to be stopping anytime soon. I am so impressed with what I'm seeing out of him in Dallas right now. It's unbelievable. And again, not taking anything away from Bo Horvat. I'm not trying to change the subject, but like, Robertson's only got 23 goals in the season. I get that. But yeah, just the way he's scoring goals, and like, for Bo, it's like, okay, when's he going to score? With Robertson, it's like, when's he going to create the opportunity for himself to score, like single-handedly almost?
You know what I like about Robertson goals, and I just see a lot of them on the highlights. I'm not watching the Stars play.
Yeah,
but
same.
The thing that I love about Robertson's goals is like he scores and he's always just like, he's like, man, I scored again. Like, it's like he hasn't like understood that he's like the top scoring guy in the NHL. He's always just like, he's kind of just like scoring goals and being like, how is this still happening?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of funny to watch him play. There was a comment I want to get to a little bit ago from Zabero. Says, what's your guys' opinion on Jack Studnicka? Haven't watched much of him the last 2 games, but from what I've seen, looks like he can be a solid fourth liner that could put up some points. I found it interesting that they almost immediately made a quick change from Lazar, who played the left wing for 1 game. They quickly switched to Studnicka, who's going to play the left wing. He also said that he likes it a lot more on the left side.
And Lazar talked about how he hated it.
And Lazar does not like it there. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what Howe's moving forward. I did talk to Bruce Boudreau this morning. And he said that Dakota Joshua likely is coming back into the lineup. So we should see Joshua tomorrow in San Jose. And I think Studnicka is probably the odd man out there. But I am still curious to see what does happen with Nils Aman. I mean, yes, he had a really great start to the season. He's kind of quieted himself a little bit, but you're starting to see a lot more production from guys like Joshua. Studnicka obviously scores a goal last night. I don't think you're taking Lazar out anytime. I'm curious if they go give Nils Aman a healthy scratch here soon, because listen, not because of bad play, but also Bruce talked about it today that even Sheldon Dries might not be a guy who's in the lineup tomorrow. He's not even. It's kind of an interesting little quote from Boudreau today where he mentioned, like, I'm not even sure what the roster is going to be like tomorrow, because like Wolanin gets sent down,
yeah, and
I don't think he means so much like a trade's coming or anything, but it just was interesting that he mentioned that, because I don't know, just like there's a lot of quotes that lean towards a disconnect between what's going on with management and what's going on with the coaching staff. And this is not a new thing, but it's just like these little quotes that you hear from Bruce specifically, because he's the one we talk to every day. It's not like we talk to Rutherford every day, because that would be, the way that Rutherford talks about Boudreau, it would be quite, it would turn into one of the teen dramas from the early 2000s with all the beef being thrown around. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I do expect Joshua, like Bruce Boudreau said, to get, I think he's going to be back in the lineup. And we asked about Travis Dermott as well, because I asked him, hey, looks like Dermott's having fun again, right? Like when he was in that non-contact jersey, he was out there. But today specifically, I saw like Dermott's back to having fun. And you saw him in the summer skates out there in Burnaby. He's a guy who's like loud, smiley all throughout practice. And you kind of saw that again today. So I was like, oh, like it looks like he's being back to his regular self, which is really good. Obviously recovering from a concussion is tough. So to see him at least be like back in that good mood again about being on the ice, that was nice to see. So I do expect that we'll probably see Dermott here pretty soon. I know Boudreau said there's not really a date in mind just yet, but he said the more that Dermott's smiling, the closer he probably is to getting back in the lineup. And there was a lot of smiles today from Dermott. So that's kind of a good news, because listen, there's a lot of questions on what's going on that third pairing on the left side. Obviously Stillman had 2 points last night. That's great. But I also think there's a lot of questionable plays from Stillman early on in the game and those 4 goals against. So Dermott's going to help that third pairing. When he's healthy, I think he's got to go straight in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, there's some interesting decisions coming. And again, I texted you this over the weekend, the idea of addition by subtraction, right? And the last time that
you should read your text to me between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. On the weekend on Saturday night.
I'm sleeping during those hours. Yeah. I'm sleeping. On Saturday.
Your brain was sleeping, but your body was moving.
Okay, anyways. What was I even saying? You threw me off. Oh, yeah, addition by subtraction. And again, like, the big time that I think we really saw this was with the Vegas expansion draft, when it was like, the Golden Knights are going to take Spiza. The Golden Knights are going to take Spiza from the Canucks. This is perfect. And sure enough, they did. They took Lucas Spiza off the Canucks, and I don't think the Canucks were much worse off for it. A guy who Jim Benning once said was going to be a top 4 guy in that Ryan Kessler trade. Coming back, gotta love Spiza pizza. Tanner Pearson. When Tanner Pearson returns, who comes out of the lineup? And are the Canucks better for it? Like, so people are talking about Jack Studnicka all of a sudden. I know he just scored 1 goal, right? I get that. But Jack Studnicka in the lineup instead of Tanner Pearson is closer to what this team should be doing than having Tanner Pearson in the lineup. I don't think the Canucks are much worse off having Jack Studnicka in the lineup. And this isn't a glowing review of Jack Studnicka. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think they're much better off long-term or hell even short-term with having Tanner Pearson in the lineup in place of Jack Studnicka.
Yeah, and I think what Boudreau really likes on that fourth line is, and you can kind of see it from the guys who, even skate on there consistently, is like, he likes his players on the fourth line to be long. He likes that Neil Zalman is like long, has, a guy who's lengthy, has a good long stick for poke checks and kind of taking up space. Studnicka has that. Like, he is. Like, he's a right shot guy, play left side, play some center as well if you need it to.
And he's 23.
He's got length.
He's 23. Yeah. Let give him some runway. You got nothing to lose here. Again, like, I know people are throwing out playoffs. The Canucks goes to the playoffs again. Let's not do this again. Not yet, at least. Let's not do this again.
Don't be blinded to ticker points away. So let's get to the next thing. Elias Pettersson. We got to talk about Pettersson last night. 3 points last night, puts up 32 points now in 26 games after that 3-point performance. Just been excellent, man. I tell you, it's. You watch this guy, and it felt like it yesterday. We'll get to the quote here from Boudreau in just a second, so you can tee that up, Alex. But what Pettersson was doing last night with, like, the back check, I felt like he was dragging that line into it last night. And listen, McCabe gets 2 goals last night. I don't think he's being talked about as having, like, the best game of that line, even putting up 2 goals. Like, it was, to me, just watching Pettersson care that much about that game. You felt like this guy was a leader. And actually, I asked Bruce Boudreau about Pettersson last night and the leadership. Let's hear from Boudreau, and then I'll let you come out of this. So this is Bruce Boudreau talking about Elias Pettersson and the leadership that he does from his play on the ice.
Talk about leaders of this team. Just the way that Pettersson skates on the back check, does things in overtime, creates turnovers. How much of a leader does he become just from his play?
Well, that's how you become a leader. Leadership isn't necessarily talking. It's doing stuff on the ice, and whether it's blocking a shot at the big time, I mean, jumping in to help a guy, or just playing as hard as Petey's been playing. That's leadership.
That is leadership. And again, you keep thinking about, what does it mean when you truly become a leader of a team? And you talk to teammates of Sidney Crosby's, for example. I'm not saying Elias Pettersson, Sidney Crosby. Connor McDavid, same sort of deal. You talk to the players in those teams, and the mark of, I think, and there's many, I'm not trying to say there's only one right answer. The mark of when a guy really becomes a leader is when his teammates, 1, want to play for him, and 2, really don't want to let him down. Like, there's a lot of talk about, all these guys that have come out of nowhere and just been really good with Sidney Crosby, like Jake Gensel, for example, right? Like, Jake Gensel is going to try his very hardest when he's playing with Sidney Crosby. If you're getting that opportunity, first of all, but second of all, a big part of it is just how Crosby carries himself. Players don't want to let him down. Like, players don't want to not perform, right? And again, like, it's for different reasons with different guys, but I think you're seeing that more and more with Elias Pettersson. Like, you're starting to see that, I think.
Yeah,
and again, this progression of becoming a leader, I think that's one thing you're starting to see with Pettersson.
I think when you see your star putting in that much effort, you have to, because you're thinking like, I do think that Brock Besser, like, he's clearly moving his feet at a higher pace over the last couple of games. He's moving his feet more. He's getting into good spots. And I think that specifically what you brought up there, with the Crosby example, that's a little bit of what Besser's doing right now. It's like, hey, I've been bounced around the third line. I haven't been on the power play. Like I'm with Pettersson now. I've got to play well. I've got to focus on every shift. I've got to be as engaged as he is. And I think that's the thing that I talk about when I say Pettersson dragging his line into the fight is like, you said it, like it's basically like you know, when you're a star of the team, I think that other players look at you and they say, I should at least be working harder than him. Like, right. Like I don't have all the God-given talent that Elias Pettersson has. I better work hard. And when he's working that hard, it raises everyone else's level. And like that line's working, man. Like Mikheyev, it's weird. He's not like, there's nothing like that you see about Mikheyev in the offensive zone, and you're like, damn, that's super impressive. Like, you know, it's like his shot's not that great. It doesn't have a good finish on it. He doesn't have like an ability to even like deke very well, but he's just such like a good north-south skater that also kind of understands the areas of the ice. I think that's what we're seeing from him. And listen, the finishing still isn't incredible. Like, I don't think he would probably be even happy. Like, how many chances does he get a game from just an incredible pass from Pettersson? Like, he gets one a game, right? He doesn't score every game, but he at least gets one of those quality grade A chances from a great Elias Pettersson pass at some point to him. So, I mean, like, he does fit well. And I do think that the best part about Mikheyev's game to me is like how defensively sound he is. Like, through and through in the defensive zone, you never see Mikheyev, you don't watch him and think, oh, look, that was a bad play. Like, he lost his man. He doesn't do that. Like, he is extremely just locked in his own zone, and he's a player that you don't worry about ever defensively. Like, it just feels like he's solid. He's just solid defensively. And the fact that he can work well with a great passer like Pettersson, like, that's why Mikheyev's the guy who's going to stick with Pettersson when you start to see the lines get shuffled. Like, Kuzmenko's the first to go because Mikheyev does things at both ends of the ice that make sense with Pettersson. Pettersson's defensive intelligence works well with Mikheyev's ability to just not ever be out of place defensively. Like, he fits really well defensively with that line. And I do think that having Boeser there, yeah, this is, you know, pressure is pushed on the Brock Boeser here, and I think he's looked good so far, like, since playing with Pettersson.
Absolutely. And again, you're looking at a guy, and again, I just talked about Kuzmenko in the last segment about how Kuzmenko's numbers suggested that he was a guy who could probably really only succeed if he was playing with Pettersson. Small sample size, like I said, succeeded with Sheldon Dries and Connor Garland last night. Brock Boeser didn't when he was in that role, right? And Brock Boeser, I think it's safe to say, like, you know, I know Brock gets, you know, especially in years past, he's getting a lot of credit as, oh, well, he's starting to drive plays, starting to do good things defensively, and that's fine. But I don't think Brock's shown that this year. Like, I think Brock's pretty clearly a guy who is a really good shooter, but needs to play with guys who can get him the puck with time and space in order to be that really good shooter. And I think the only guy on this team that he's going to find that success with is Elias Pettersson and maybe Bo Horvat. But again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think right now that's kind of what we're seeing with Elias Pettersson. I know, again, small sample size, but Brock's got to play with Pettersson right now.
Yep, I think so too. And I think, you know, there's times where Bruce has talked about this as well, of just like, he knows that players that like each other, he likes to put them together because he thinks they have good chemistry. And like, this is the thing with these two players is like, you are going to get more space for Brock Boeser when he's on a line with Elias Pettersson. He talked about it last night when we asked him in the morning skate. And like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, when Boeser does have a lot of space and is like the second best shooter on the line that a team's watching out for, and then you also add in like the streaking quick scoring chances that Mikheyev creates, like, this is the situation for Brock Boeser where he's going to have the most space possible to get his shot off, I think, at 5-on-5. Like, no other line combination you could put together that would probably give him more space to get shots off. I think this situation is going to be the one where you're going to see big opportunities if a play is made from, you know, Mikheyev going down, then getting it off to Pettersson making a move and finding Boeser. That's going to be the best opportunity for him to score at 5-on-5. So he's got to step up here, right? Like, he hasn't had a good start to the season. He's putting up a lot of points, a lot of secondary assists. Hasn't really scored a lot of these typical Brock Boeser goals that we've seen. But he has shown just like a little taste of it and a little taste of some good things over the start of the season. But he's been a third line player all year. So now this is the time where, yeah, he, you know, should kind of look at this as pressure. Like, it should be known that, like, hey, you got to step up here in this situation, because I don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get to just be put into a top 6 role if you continue to play like this. So this is the time where, yeah, there should be some pressure on Brock Boeser. And obviously there's some heat from a lot of people like online that, you know, don't like what Boeser's done so far this season. And clearly the numbers kind of back that up defensively on him being one of the worst now in the league at being goals against per 60. Like this isn't just like a thing that a lot of people are just like picking a player and deciding to hate on them. Like, yes, he's been on the ice more than any other player in the NHL for getting scored at 5-on-5. This isn't an opinion. This is the numbers saying that. So he's in a spot right now where he really needs to just grab onto it and stay there and produce. That's the biggest thing, is you're in this spot to produce. So Brock needs to step up right now. Though he's still not on the first power play unit, you're at 5-on-5 with probably the best creator of offense. We just talked about Pettersson's 32 points in 26 games. How much of that is at 5-on-5, right? Like, that's the thing that's so impressive about Pettersson. You need to be able to contribute to that and make sure that this line is running, because it does have a capability to be a very high scoring line. And I think matching up against these teams like San Jose and Montreal and these teams that are in the bottom of the league, like, these are the ones where you need to pick up points, right? Like, you need to be putting up 5-on-5 points in the situation, and Brock Besser's got to step up right now and do that.
No disagreement there. I think you're bang on, especially about the stuff about playing with Pettersson. Like, you have to not only seize that opportunity, but hold it. And again, like, for all the talk of, well, the Canucks didn't need this player, the Canucks didn't need this player because it's keeping guys out of the top 6. Hey, at least you've got a guy knowing that there's someone on his heels to take his spot in the top 6. Like, you talk about country club, this is how you get rid of that country club mentality, right? And again, you talk about a guy like Bo Horvat, right? Where you see him back checking, and Elias Pettersson as well. You see him back checking, you're like, oh, okay, well, there goes your country club.
Yeah. Exactly. And a good one from L Jim in the chat as well. Petey even skates hard back to the bench. JT should take notice. Yeah, Petey. Well, no, but seriously, watch Pettersson skate. I don't know.
No,
I think you should be able to see this on the broadcast, but we can 100% see it from the press box because we're right above the bench. You can see Pettersson skate to the bench hard.
He doesn't take a shift off.
No, and he makes an effort to get to the bench quick. It's different than a lot of other players on this team for sure.
A lot of players.
I know you want to get to the player that Pettersson stripped in overtime last night.
Oh, yeah, I tweeted. It was a great tweet. One of my best, for sure. Mike Matheson.
That's why you got 8,000 followers.
Mike Matheson, the guy who body slammed Pettersson, what was his third game in the league? It was really early. Promising start from Pettersson, and then he gets body slammed to the ice by Matheson. Matheson got a 2-game suspension, I want to say. And Pettersson was concussed on the play. It was a vicious, like, you know, I remember back then watching that. I don't even know who it was. It was some guys in Ontario. I think it was the TSN guys. Honestly, I don't know. Just talking
probably
about
Alex.
No, not Alex. They were talking about, like, how is this a penalty? What is this league becoming? Where he got, the can opener lifted up onto the boards and slammed to the ice. And you know what? That was when I was really, really into reading Botch. And I remember Botch didn't hold anything back about that. Like, Botch was so vocal about how that was a garbage play. It was. It absolutely was. So it was nice to see. 4 years in the making.
Yep.
Elias Pettersson makes Matheson look like a dummy. Matheson toe-picked, by the way. Like, people are like, he tripped him. No, Matheson lost his footing. Was so embarrassed. Told Nick Suzuki to go cover Pettersson. Nick Suzuki, not much of an athlete himself. The moment's too big for him. That's a joke, folks. Elias Pettersson goes in, and that goal Pettersson scored was a nice one. Like, tucked it home.
Put your shoulder down, go to the net. Nice goal. It was great. I liked what we saw there, and I think you brought it. I think our friends over at C4 Podcast, they have that clip in there, one of their segments as well. Shout out to Chris and Anna.
There you go.
They got that. That Toronto media talking about it.
Okay, let's get to the don't be blinded section here. Okay, now. This is interesting because you saw the tweets. Some people kept him in the drafts, right? After being down 4-0, the tweets of just change something. This team is garbage. Something's going on. This is awful. This team needs change, right? Like, this team needs to have some change immediately. And again, I don't think coming back winning that game changes much about that. Like, I still think there are changes that need to be made, but like, I look at that game last night, and I just hope that, and again, I know you wrote this, the don't be blinded part, but I just hope that fans still, because you can enjoy wins. Like, who didn't like watching that game last night? That was a fun game to watch. It's fun to watch chaos. That was the most chaotic win we've seen from the Canucks all season. It's fun to watch games like that. It's absolutely fun. But
building off of, like, being down 4-0 is a good thing for
absolutely.
The team. That's a good comeback.
But it's not a good enough comeback for you to say, well, maybe they don't need to rebuild. Maybe they can just ride it out with this team. Maybe this team, look how much heart they showed against Montreal. They came back and won. We can do this. And again, I'm not saying there's a lot of fans that do this, but there is one very important fan who has a bit of a history of doing this, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And you just hope that internally in that organization that there's still not this idea when there's wins like this, when there's OT wins against Arizona, that, you know what, maybe this team can be fixed. Like maybe this team can just be fixed in a flash. Like maybe we don't need to sell off at the deadline. Maybe we can move a Brock Besser for nothing and then get the cap space to extend Bo Horvat, and then we'll keep this team's leading goal scorer. Maybe that'll work. Like, you can't lose the plot and you can't get blinded by this win, right? Because
you should not be getting blinded from beating the Coyotes, who are the fifth worst team in the that's a tongue twister.
Mike Tathan.
Fifth worst. That's a tough one. The fifth worst team in the NHL. You beat them in overtime. The Sharks, the second worst team in the NHL, you beat them in overtime. The Canadiens, the 12th worst team, so like a little bit better, sort of near the middle of the pack, but they're also playing, I think, above what even they probably expected. Overtime wins against these teams shouldn't make you be like, yeah, now we're a playoff team.
Yeah.
You know, that big win over the Sharks, now we're a playoff team. Like, I don't know. I think that, like, we touched on this, I think, even yesterday, maybe the show before, but like, are you confident the Canucks are going to go into San Jose, who have the second worst points percentage in the NHL? Are you confident they're going down there and winning tomorrow? Like, I'm not confident.
San Jose's got the best penalty kill in the league. Did you know that?
I feel like I remember seeing that a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the best penalty kill in the league.
That's impressive.
That's not a good matchup for the Canucks.
No, that's not good for them.
San Jose's power play isn't great, but the Canucks penalty kill isn't that great either.
No, and that's the thing. You just can't be blinded by those type of wins. You can't.
And even if they win tomorrow, you can't come in here on, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah, Thursday, when we come in and talk about that game. You can't come in here and be like, well, there it is. There's everything you need to see from this team. Everything's fine. This core, you can circle it back next year. Like, no. Like, do something at some point and have some sort of plan. I think that's all anybody wants to see. And I hate to sound like a broken record.
No, but also it's not just a plan, but it's also like to stay on the course of that plan.
Yes, exactly.
It starts with having a plan, but the second thing is making sure that the rope is being pulled in the same direction, that plan is the way that you want to have as your final destination. And to me, it just, like, I think I wrote this in the mailbag the other day. It feels like right now it's like the final destination that you're like pulling towards you, but there's just like, it feels like the organization's like pulling on multiple ropes. Like, yeah, we want to get younger and build to be a playoff contending team, but yeah, we also want to win right now. But also, like, our goaltender's out for 6 weeks that like carried our team a lot for last year. But also, it just feels like everything's being pulled in a different direction, and nothing. If they were all together, this organization from the top down, like, you know, coming from the president that this is the plan. So he tells his general managers tell their staff talks to the coaching staff, you know, coaches what they can around the players to make the situation know that, like, this is the plan. That's how your organization comes together. You just need to have this team be on the same page. Like, that synergy through an organization is so crucial to what teams do. And it's not just about teams that are good, right? Like, you need the synergy on teams that are in rebuilds as well. Like, you think that the Montreal Canadiens, like, it feels like their organization understands what's going on. The young players are getting opportunities. They're also looking at this like, hey, we're also going to be maybe moving some guys that might have an opportunity to go win somewhere else. Like, there's a big discussion right now in the Canucks Twitter sphere of like, we need to keep Luke Schenn.
Not today. Like, we're not doing this today. We'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll do the Luke Schenn thing tomorrow. But it's like that, you know, like synergy. Need the synergy. Let's get to our bet.
Absolutely. Okay, get to it.
Betway. I got called out earlier because, yeah, they mentioned it. Someone said, was a Knucklehead, I think, was giving me crap, saying that I didn't say Betway enough on the episode with Harm, which was probably true. Because, yeah, I get straight to the point with Harm. I waste too much time with you, so you're the problem, actually, Quads. But Betway, let's get to it. There it is on the screen, Betway. Just swiped across the stage, Betway, 18 plus, bet the responsible way, Betway. Seattle Kraken to win and Jared McCann to score a point in this one. You get that at plus 125. So the Kraken are rolling, okay? They're getting Montreal's coming into town after losing that game last night to the Canucks. I looked at, I might have this not 100% correct, but I feel like it's, no, I think I do. The Seattle Kraken, 15-6-3. It's weird to say that out loud. Like, I know that the Kraken are doing well, but like 15 wins, 6 losses in regulation, and 3 overtime or shootout losses. They are rolling, man. So I got the Kraken to win and McCann to score. You get that plus 125. So you just need a point for McCann. He's put up a lot of points this season as well. And then Matty Beniers or Jordan Eberle to score in this one. I hit on the like the goal score or you know what I'm saying? Last night I hit on that with the Miller Kuzmenko. We got the Kuzmenko hit. Tonight, Matty Beniers, he's got 5 goals in his last 6 games. He's kind of rolling right now, and just throw in Jordan Eberle. I think you might get one from either of these guys. And, the Montreal Canadiens gave up a lot of goals last night. So coming into this back-to-back with Seattle rolling, and also Seattle won 7 games before losing their last game. So they want to get back to that winning way and continue to run the Pacific Division. So, I think you're going to get some from there. So I feel good about both these ones. So that's our Betway bets of the day. Betway.
Just to correct
and today, my video I put out, boom, first take. I left it in the video too.
19 plus, not 18 plus.
19 plus.
19 plus. This is in Alberta.
That's right.
19
plus to play. 19 plus. Betway. Okay, you ready to wrap it up here?
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll wrap it up.
Did you see my video today? I when I do a thing on the first take, I'll leave it in there. First take.
Beauty. Okay. No, I didn't see it. I don't watch all of them, but I watch some of them.
Okay.
I
don't think you watch any of them.
We'll wrap it up there. For my co-host Chris Faber and our
there's the
technical
Sky
producer.
Train.
Yeah, there it is. Our
Look at
technical producer Alex Lard, who cut to the Sky Train on time.
Alex knew it was coming. He's got his schedule lined
Yeah,
up.
My name is Dave.
It's on its schedule. We're on schedule.
My name is Dave Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Sky Train. There's another one.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank